So how does Hollywood work? To give us an insider's view, I'm joined now from Los Angeles by stand-up comedian and actor Maz Jobrani. He's starred in successful television shows such as 24 and The West Wing. His film roles include The Interpreter and 13 going on 30. Maz, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. How are you?
Great, thanks. Let me ask you straight off the top. When it comes to the way Hollywood works and how they cast people in movies in Hollywood, is it sort of inevitable that the Middle Eastern guy gets cast as the terrorist?
I think that it's just the stories that are being told in general. Usually when there's a Middle Easterner in a movie or a TV show coming out of Hollywood, it tends to be a negative part, like a terrorist of some sort. We've seen other parts that do have that aren't terrorist parts. Like, for example, you mentioned the movie The Interpreter. I played an Arab American Secret Service agent in that, so that was definitely a neat thing to do. And there's been other parts that have come out that are also positive, but for the most part, I think high percentage is terrorists and negative parts.
Yeah, I mean, is the day going to come when Maz Jobrani is going to be cast as, say, director of the CIA or chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff?
Yeah, no, it's possible. I mean, I think that every minority goes through this in Hollywood. I mean, I was just watching a documentary on Bruce Lee, and when he was first starting out in Hollywood, he was cast as the sidekick in I believe it was the Green Hornet. He was the Kato character, and it wasn't until he went to Hong Kong and started making his movies and they became world famous that then he became the leading man. So every minority goes through it. We've seen it with the black actors in Hollywood as well, and I think that we're going through it right now. Middle Easterners are going through it, but eventually, I think once we have writers and directors, people from behind the scenes that are writing stories from a Middle Eastern point of view or a Middle Eastern American point of view, then we will start to see those types of leads.
When are we going to see that? Because, the United States seems to be very impervious to outside influences, to outside stories coming to the United States or outside cultural influences coming here.
I think one of the problems is that definitely for television, that a lot of the networks are worried whether certain minority backgrounds will translate to the general population. I personally think that it will. I think that it could work. But I think what it takes is, definitely through films we could do that, through independent movies we could do that. And I think it's going to take, some network taking a chance somewhere down the line. Katie Couric wrote a piece maybe a year ago or so saying that we need a Middle Eastern Cosby Show. I think if we had that, it would really be a big step, and I personally think it would be successful. It's just a lot of times they're very risk averse in the world of television to try anything until somebody sneaks it in and it succeeds, and then they're on board.
Well, that looks like something waiting for you.
Hey, I'm ready to go. I even jokingly, my name being Maz, my friend said we could call it the Mosby Show.
Right. I mean, you talk about minorities in the United States. Well, minorities make up 37% of the United States population, but you don't see that diversity in Hollywood, do you?
No, again, you don't see that much. It feels like the Latino community is starting to make some waves. They had a little while ago, Ugly Betty was a show that was a popular show out here, and that had Salma Hayek as one of the producers. So I think it takes people from these backgrounds really wanting to do projects and stepping up and being part of these projects to help push them through for the networks to even give it a shot. And so I think it's a slow transition. I have seen that a lot of the networks are beginning to try to cast minorities in parts. So a lot of times when I go on an audition as a Middle Eastern American, I'll show up and there'll be a black guy there and a Latino guy there and an Asian guy there, and we're all going up for the same part because the networks want to have someone of a different ethnicity in that part. So at least you gotta give them that. They're starting to try a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the irony of this all is that, this is an industry that prides itself on being very liberal or very left in some respects. But, sometimes when you look at it, uh, a bit beyond what it shows, it's not very liberal, is it?
Well, I think, I don't think it's the liberalness of the industry or not. I think that the main issue here is who are the storytellers, and obviously right now, if you took a poll, I'm sure that many of the storytellers would come from a white Anglo-Saxon background, Americanized background. I think that that's what you need. I think that we need to have more people of color in the storytelling position and an executive, and also in the position of executives. Once you have that, then I think those people will bring their point of view to the stories, and they can start to we'll start to see more diversity. I mean, we have BET, which is Black Entertainment Television. I mean, all the shows there are coming from a black point of view. We have Shonda Rhimes, who's the creator of Grey's Anatomy, and she's got some diversity on the show. So I think you need more and more of that. You need more and more people of different backgrounds creating shows, creating films. You watch a Spike Lee film, you're going to get a totally different perspective than if you watch a Woody Allen film. So I tend to not complain as much anymore, but rather try to take the bull by the horns and create my own stuff.
Okay, I want to come to that in a moment, but I was just wondering from what you're just saying now that sometimes Hollywood reinforces stereotypes, doesn't it? I mean, we have this raging controversy at the moment over the movie Zero Dark 30.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, storytellers tell their stories, and we're going to come and criticize it from several different angles. I mean, unfortunately, the problem right now is, for example, the stereotype of Middle Easterners being terrorists and insurgents and Taliban. The issue right now is that those are the stories that seem to interest the storytellers, American storytellers right now. I've not run into anybody who said, "Hey, I want to tell a story of an Iranian American lawyer who triumphs over some sort of adversity and wins a case at the Supreme Court." I mean, I haven't heard anyone write a story like that. So I think that what interests people right now from the stories that are being told are these stories that depict us in this negative light. The reality is that probably over 99% of Middle Easterners are not terrorists. Over 99% of Middle Easterners and Muslims aren't these characters that we see in these movies. But that's what people are interested in telling the story of right now. So until somebody steps up and starts to tell these other stories of more ordinary Middle Easterners, I think that we'll continue to see what we're seeing for now.
Okay, let me get back to what you just said a moment ago, and that is about doing your own thing. And I was just wondering, what about the production side of Hollywood? You yourself, you're a producer. I mean, is it harder for minority producers to get financing for their projects? At the moment, you're trying to finance a project, and you're doing something called crowdsourcing.
Yeah, again, listen, in the end, Hollywood is a business. It's, and so if I go to a production company and I say I have this idea where the lead character will be a Middle Easterner, they might look at me and say, well, can we change it to Tom Cruise playing the lead character? Because we know that Tom Cruise will draw box office. So that's the issue you run into. That's your uphill battle. The beauty, though, now is, like you were saying, there's crowdfunding, which means you can put your project on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, and people can give to your project, as well as with the internet and all the other different resources we have out there. Filmmaking is a lot more affordable nowadays.
Okay, Maz, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.